The Conservative Party MEP and Brexit supporter, David E. Campbell Bannerman, has criticised the report which suggested the UK could face sanctions from the EU if they do not follow the blocs terms in the transitional period. Tariffs could be imposed on UK goods and planes could be grounded as a result of suspension of aviation rights if the regulations were not followed. Speaking on Sky News, Mr. Bannerman ripped into the EU over the report and warned the UK should not be punished during the implementation period. He said, "I am worried about certain aspects of that." Sky News. Getty. Brexit News. David E. Campbell Bannerman took a swipe at the EU over suggestions they could punish UK. "I mean, there is talk of punishment if we do not follow their rules. There are things like sincere cooperation, which basically means if you act in any way that they regard as undermining EU interests, then they can slap sanctions on you, like a withdrawal of trade benefits to close the single market. There have been some horror stories on that. I don't think the EU should be acting like a sort of schoolmaster telling off a naughty child. We have got to be adults about this, and we need to negotiate in an adult fashion. I mean, there is talk of punishment if we do not follow the rules." David E. Campbell Bannerman. Mr. Bannerman also set out what kind of deal the UK should be seeking with the European Union in the next phase of negotiations. He said, "We have to recognize that we are in the endgame now. We need to know by March what kind of deal we want from the EU. We need to decide by then in order to move forward on the trade deal. I'm arguing for Super Canada or CETA+++, that kind of deal that goes way beyond the Canada deal, but this is what is being discussed at cabinet level, and I mean, I think it's good that they are discussing it. You get mixed reports about what is being decided and not decided. This is why they spending this time. This is fundamental to our future relationship with the EU, and the cabinet is deciding it, and quite rightly, but we do need to know what we're going to be asking for by March." Speaking today, Michel Barnier, the EU's chief Brexit negotiator, reiterated his message to Downing Street that the time has come and we await with great interest the choices to be made by the British government. Monday, February 5, 2018, Michel Barnier and David Davis head to Downing Street for lunch meeting. "The time has come to make choices, and if everything goes well, in March the European Council will decide on the guidelines," he added. Earlier this week, the Frenchman said Mrs. May has asked to benefit from the single market and the customs union for a short period after this. The European Council has indicated its readiness to consider this request. "The conditions are clear, very clear. Everyone has to play by the same rules. We need clarity on the UK proposals for the future partnership. The only thing I can say, without customs union and outside the single market, barriers to trade and goods and services are unavoidable. Time has come to make choice." The Prime Minister has been meeting cabinet ministers and those on Theresa May's Brexit committee this week to define Britain's negotiating position for the second round of EU talks.